During the warmer months along the Grand River, you'll see plenty of people walking, biking, running, enjoying life above the river. But you won't see as many people in the river, and there's a good reason why. Did you know that there's billions of gallons of sewage going into the Grand River every year?
Yeah, like I didn't know it was that much.
That's just really gross. I'm really sorry.
I wouldn't go in this river.
It's pretty bad, taking that this river is what flows into Lake Michigan and our Great Lakes.
He's right. This report by the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy tracks what are called combined sewer overflow events throughout the state. It shows that sewage water overflowed into the Grand River 38 times in 2020. That added up to over 333 million gallons of sewage going into the river in 1 year.
I'm glad I don't swim in the Grand River.
The report tracked hundreds of Michigan cities and counties. Out of all of them, Lansing ranked 4th for the most sewage overflow. Sewage overflow looks like a discoloration in the water. It can contain sanitary products, debris, E. coli, and other toxic particles. So why and how does it get into our waterways? Dan Beauchamp is one of the engineering specialists at the State Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy. He helped put this report together. He explains that combined sewer overflow happens when one pipe is responsible for collecting or combining stormwater runoff and wastewater.
So most of the time, all this flow goes to the wastewater treatment plant where it's treated prior to discharge. However, during periods of heavy precipitation, the capacity of these pipes can be exceeded.
Basically, when it rains too much, rather than having the combined sewers take their flooding to your basement, they were designed to have their flooding dump out of these combined sewer overflow pipes, or CSOs, and into bodies of water. Here's a map of where these CSO pipes are throughout Lansing. As you can see, there are 17 of them, but hopefully not for long.
Now, in Michigan, we have a CSO, or a combined sewer overflow policy, that requires that municipalities with combined sewer overflows have to fix that.
By law, Lansing has to fix their sewer overflow problem. All Michigan cities were ordered back in the late 80s, early 90s, and they were all given a deadline.
Lansing was given until 2019 to solve the combined sewer overflow problem in the Grand and Red Cedar rivers, and they failed to do so.
That's Fred Cowles. He's the president of Middle Grand River Organization of Watershed, or MGRO. We met by one of the CSO pipes.
That large hole is outfall 022.
Where he told me he worked with the state up to 2002 to fix this overflow issue. When Lansing didn't meet their 2019 deadline, he pushed to be a part of the process again, but was denied.
It's not right. We shouldn't be putting raw sewage into the river.
The state decided to push Lansing's deadline to fix sewage overflow to 2033.
I thought that was much too long. We're seeing raw sewage enter the river just about every time it rains. Since the first of the year, almost 150 million gallons of raw sewage have entered the river from the city of Lansing. And I find that unacceptable.
It's a pretty massive extension and with no repercussions. Do you know why there was no repercussions and how they got so many more years?
No, I can't tell you why.
What Frank can tell us is that even though the city wasn't penalized, the people who live here are.
It should be done a lot sooner.
One of those people is Paul Brogan, owner of the kayak company, Rivertown Adventures. He shuts down his business every time there's significant rain because of the overflow.
Can't deny that there's definitely a lot of frustration to it that we still haven't completely fixed this issue when other cities in the state have done that.
This chart from the Eagle Report shows that while sewer overflow is an issue, it has gotten better every year.
They've completed 72% of the sewer separation in Lansing, so they still have 28% to go. And that's what's making up the 300 million gallons of sewage discharged. But they have done quite a bit so far to fix that issue. And I think the estimated cost for that remaining 28% is upwards of $250 million.
The cost. Fixing the sewage overflow problem is expensive. Andy Kilpatrick, the city's director of public service, outlines why.
Well, so what we're trying to do, and we've been doing this since the mid-90s, is separating these sewers. So we, as opposed to having the combined sewers where you have sanitary flow and storm flow, we are putting an additional pipe in the ground, and so at that point in time, we will only have storm flow coming out of these pipes.
Kilpatrick says the city is about 2/3 of the way done.
We spent about $250 million so far doing this, and in today's dollars, it's about another $250 million between now and 2035 to completely eliminate the combined sewer overflows into the rivers.
From now until their deadline, the city plans to complete 2 new drain projects a year. That money to create all of these new pipes, where does that come from?
So it's paid by our ratepayers.
To pay for the sewage repair, sewage rates will go up 4% every year until all sewers are complete, which is what the state considered when coming up with that new 2033 deadline.
Unfortunately, a lot of these infrastructure projects cost millions and millions of dollars. Affordability is one thing that we generally try to look at as part of, our project. Is it affordable to the ratepayers in the service area, while trying to get as much protection or as quick as protection for the environment as absolutely necessary.
As many problems do, the issue of sewage overflow into the Grand River seems to come down to a price tag. Is that a valid argument for why this work still hasn't been done that was started in the 90s?
Well, clearly it takes a significant investment, but the city made a conscious decision not to comply with the requirements of a duly issued permit. If the city failed to meet the 2019 date, what's to say they're going to meet the 2030 date?
It's important to emphasize that sewage overflow isn't a year-round event. It only happens during heavy rainfall. So if you do want to come out and enjoy the Grand River, maybe go kayaking, you can check the latest sewage overflow events. Those are listed on Eagle's website. I put that link with this story on fox47news.com. I'm Sarah Grimmer reporting.